The Why Me Project, an exclusive presentation of Faith Strong Today.
There are a lot of incredible, heart-wrenching, difficult topics that we've had an opportunity to talk with different people over the number of years, Holly.
Yeah, absolutely. It has run the gamut. And so I'm so excited for today as we continue to dive into some of those situations. But it's amazing how people emerge stronger and learn so much from the valleys. I wish it wasn't like that. I wish we could all just be mountaintops all the time. That'd be great. But life just isn't like that.
You look at the popularity of Sound of Freedom and how that movie over the last month, 6 weeks has just been absolutely incredible. The topic of human trafficking has come up. And I think we'd be remiss to not maybe dive a little bit more into those things for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do it without further ado.
We got a author, speaker, social justice advocate, Lena Cebula. How are you?
I'm good, guys, and thank you so much for having me.
We like to ask the skill testing question because we never know where it's going to go. Lena, who are you and where did you come from?
Well, I was born and raised in Ukraine, and I actually been trafficked to Canada, but I was trafficked to two different countries. And it's so cool that you start talking about Sound of Music, because I just want to give it a shout out, because I just went with my husband a couple days ago. And honestly, guys, I recommend it to all of you to watch this movie. Not for the young children, of course, because it's a little bit difficult topic, but I actually was really scared to go and see this movie because I'm a survivor of human trafficking. So I didn't know how it's going to trigger and impact in me, because I work for the last 20 years, like with therapists, self-development coaches, to be in a place of healing and in peace. I didn't know how this topic will affect me.
Yeah.
But then I heard so many amazing reviews. And because it's been done by Christian, that I knew it's not going to be, like go into gory details, because I know this is not our culture to create something for people to have nightmares. So I actually pray so long, and I talked to so many people, and, because I've been supporting Tim Ballard for more than 10 years. I really like so many stories that I heard before from him and his organization. And I actually made the post on my website. I've been thinking, like, I'm actually saying something. Oh, my friend went to see this movie. So I pray so hard and so long, and I had so much peace. And I said to my husband, would you be open to come with me? And he said yes. And some of my church friends came too. So I felt really supported. And honestly, it was amazing. The topic is so difficult, but it's amazing tool. The way they designed the movie, it's not an action flick. It's not a horror movie. Like, it's literally a real story, but the way they package it and present it, it's give me hope. And I didn't have like any like breakdowns, and I keep thinking about it, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is an amazing tool for people to have awareness. And now I read some people say, oh, it's give it injustice to victim because not everybody go through kidnapping and this and that. Yes, absolutely. Not everybody go through that, but there's people who don't know about human trafficking at all. So this is gonna just open the door, and then people gonna like dive into it and learn, oh, it's so much more complex. There are so many different ways, but I can do this right now, and I can help these kids, or I can help these people, or I can help women. So it's like literally opening the door. And the coolest part, guys, like literally next day after I saw this movie, one of my Russian friends who met me at the retreat said to me, Lena, would you be open to come and speak to us? Because this US church and here in Canada church, they've been friends for a very long time. They saw the movie and they got so much like impact. They want to do something, they want to learn, but they don't know anything about it. And that's what this movie does. And that's what I'm so excited about it, because I can come now and tell them, like, I have so many resources and organizations that I support through the years. So I can give those people, and together collectively we can take and still make it different. So it's create like this ripple effect.
We can go back into your life and we could talk about, you know, who you were and where you came from. But since we're on the topic of human trafficking, how old were you when it first happened to you?
I was very young, and it's happened to me because of my family being like in this court. But there's another thing. It can happen to anyone, anytime, any age. But my personal story, and literally I have never imagined that 20 years later, I'm going to be sharing my story and staying on stage in front of hundreds of people, and that my story going to be broadcasted all over social media, because I believed all these years that my story, it's story of shame, guilt, and condemnation. But now I know it's God's story of salvation, of overcoming adversity, of thriving after trauma. So what happened is, like, my parents actually became an alcoholics because they struggled in their marriage for a very long time. And then they lost their well-paid jobs. And our house was like so dirty. It was like full of like black mold, cockroaches, and mice, because the government turned off the electricity and hot water for outstanding bills, you know, and our house always been full of strangers who brought booze and drugs. And I actually was looking forward for those people come when I was very young, because they brought food. That means like I would be eating. So that's how I end up mingling between those adults all the time. And from the young age, I became an easy target for those guys, because no government protected me. No, my parents protected me. So I've been actually raped numerous times, like since I was probably 13. But by that time, I was already and drinking and smoking, was not coming home. Like nobody really create the boundaries for me to be at home or anything like that. So yeah, and honestly, when I thought things couldn't get any worse, 1 month before my 15th birthday, I woke up with this severe abdominal pain and scared and confused, only to realize I was in labor. So I was like so shocked, because I didn't know I was pregnant, and I didn't even know who her father was. So my baby died 3 months later from health complication. And literally I buried her when I was 15, and I carried this little casket to the cemetery in my arms. Aww. And for the next 20 years, it's plagued my mind, body, and soul. So I turned to like more harder drugs to medicate my pain, because like my head was just overwhelming with this guilt and shame for this innocent baby's life. So I started using heroin, because it was easy to be high and kind of checked out, than feeling worthless and hopeless and abandoned and broken, and so broken. And then definitely I got the postpartum, but nobody even check up or care. And this is so bizarre now. I'm thinking about living in this country. Like nobody even like came and asked how this 14-year-old kid had the baby. And after the baby already, nobody even come and said, do you need any counseling through that trauma, because the baby passed away. So I went through grief, everything. Like I actually don't remember next probably like 3 years, you know. But then I had this awakening moment, because I saw people dying around me or who went to jail, and I realized that I don't want to be one of those people. So I knew that I need to change, or something need to happen. But there is no hopes and dreams for people like me. By that time, I was a street junkie, you know, on heroin. And then I met this guy who gave me like this opportunity to meet this lady who was rich and like affectionate and kind to me. And it's really felt wonderful and safe because people don't react to me like this way anymore.
Right.
And she brought me to her house and she offered me this fancy coffee and sweets. And I was so impressed because somebody cared for me. And then casually she offered me a job. So I didn't really ask any specifics. I just say yes to the job because it sounded like an opportunity to get out from the place I was before. So her team went to work and they cleaned me up, dressed me up. Like I literally then, I still was on heroin, like I don't remember how we got to airport. I don't remember the customs. Like I have like no idea. Just one day I woke up hearing this Muslim prayer, Allahu Akbar, run out. So I woke up in a foreign country. So I got so freaked out. And it took me a while to realize that she actually sold me into human trafficking.
Oh.
So I was, by default, like I knew that, and honestly, this is another thing. People don't quit heroin, not because it's so wonderful, but because the body cannot really handle withdrawals. And most of the time, like people die. But by default, I quit heroin. And because I was in a new environment and everything was so different, like, so my brain actually kick in and get my body out of this, like really painful, like sickness. And at that moment, honestly, guys, like, I kid you not, I felt like in a second, like I was in a fairy tale because we have two guys accompany us, 5 girls, and they took us in this beautiful city on the Red Sea where every building was painted white. And I was walking in the Red Sea. They took us to the restaurants. They buy us like all these lavish, gifts. There's like, I saw this sunset on the Red Sea and like with orange and red hues. And I was so grateful that I could experience this beauty because compared to like where I was like a few weeks ago, and I was blown away and I thought like, wow, this is an amazing opportunity to see a thing because like I was so young, like I just turned 18, like I was so naive, like I had no idea what's happening, but so far it was wonderful. So I clean from drugs. I'm fed. I'm dressed. Somebody care for me. It's beautiful resort there. But literally like day after that we came, our hotel was raided by the police because one of the guy was like on the red, whatever flag radar.
Like a most wanted list.
Yeah. Like human trafficking. So they put all of us in, they brought us all in a police station and they start questioning us, but because they couldn't translate to Russian and they could like repeat one phrase that we could understand. Why are you here? Why are you here? And we just spoke Russian and they could not hold us for the more than they supposed to. And plus we've been given script. So like I've been lying half of my life to get what I need and want, So for me, it was whatever. So they actually let us go, but they put that guy in jail. But another guy who was with him, he took us and we went to another like mysterious destination when they drove like through sand dunes for hours. And that's when it got really scary because I already had so many encounters with police since like 13-year-old. Like it wasn't like really that scary for me. But when they drop us off in the middle of nowhere, there like was like this Bedouin tent and there was 2 huge Middle Eastern armed men. Like they had guns and they just like drop us off and left us there. So they didn't care for us really. They didn't feed us and didn't like it was terrible. And in the middle of the night, they actually forced us to crawl under the barbed wire to cross in the border between the Israel and Egypt illegally. But it was so crazy because I could hear the soldiers who has machine guns on this border tower.
What?
And literally, it's like a movie trailer. But
Yeah.
Honestly, like later on, I was researching like for my book, like a few years later, they actually on that border, because this is happening so often because this route being used. Now they have like motion detectors.
No.
They have like so many, like all these new gadgets to actually prevent that. Because if they caught us, they probably would prevent that other 2 years of my life when I've been sold into brothel. Because on another side, we actually like they make us crawl us on another side, but there was no one to receive us because we've been hauled up with the police. So like on timing, we were like off time. So next day, those guys put us on the bed of the truck and put huge spare tires on us and cover us with tarp. And we actually went through the border that way. So on another side, those other guys just took us, like put us in the Jeep, but there's like not just put, they make us run and jump and climb over the fence and stuff us in the car. And like, it was like bizarre. I think like I lost my shoe and I ran with one shoe. Like it was like so crazy.
How did you get to Canada?
Yeah.
Like if I don't know if there's from where you were to then, was going to Canada a good experience, or was it another one of those you were in the midst of the human trafficking thing, or did you escape and you're like, no, I'm going to Canada?
Yes. So it's really cool story. And how it happens when I've been sold in the brothel. Actually, one of my bodyguards share the good news of God's love with me. And actually, when my grandpa was dying, he took me to Jerusalem to pray at the Wailing Wall. So I've been already there. I've been in Israel almost 2 years. And this guy, literally in the middle of the brothel, he ministered to me all this time. So after praying at the Wailing Wall, I decided to leave. And because I already pay all my debts, and they allowed me to leave. And guess what, guys? Like, this is not really usual situation. Most of the time, you don't leave this kind of situation alive unless you has been rescued. But because the place that I've been brought to, like some of the girls who came with me, they got missing, they died, never heard again. But because the place that I end up with, that's what happened. They allowed me to leave almost in 2 years. So I actually saved up some money. But one of my other bodyguard stole all my possession, and my trustworthy aunt stole all my money. And I started using heroin again. So I knew that I'm going back into the same thing, and I actually become the number one, right hand of number one drug dealer in my city. So I knew I have unlimited amount of heroin that I can die of overdose anytime. And I knew that it wasn't safe. Somebody could murder me, for all this stuff. So I decided to leave. So I didn't know I had no any means or ideas. So second time I actually sold myself into human trafficking, thinking that they're going to take me back to Israel, because I thought the Israel better than this life. And, but they brought me to Canada. They actually brought me to Canada. But the coolest part that I think this is God's hand, they allowed me to go learn English, and they submit my documents so I would not be deported, because when the girls get deported, they losing money. But because I was already broken in, they trusted me to be a slave, so that's actually helped me to understand. But I've been in Israel illegally. I have no documents. So I was in prison. But here I was learning English. My documents was in the government. So I understood that I have a paper trail, that somebody knows that I'm here if something happens. And then I was I think like I was 23 years old when somebody first time told me that I have rights. I'm like, what kind of rights? They're like human rights. Do you understand that I first time like realized that I have rights and worth and value, you know? So I ran away. And I think because they knew that have a slave mentality, I would never do that. They give me more freedom, and that's what I used. And I lived in shelter. I learned English from level 0. And then I went to cosmetology course because I thought I'm gonna be hairstylist on my hair salon. And guess what? I've been hairstylist for 12 years and own my hair salon. But while I was doing that, I actually met a boy, Christian boy, who fell in love like crazy with me. And I was like building my empire. My relationship with guys, I knew there is like no trustworthy, they're all liars and cheaters and all this stuff. But the way he treated me, like I do believe like it's Holy Spirit glued me to him, because like we just fall in love, you know, like, but he was like really vocal about it, but I was kind of really scared. But then more and more I learned about him, I realized that I fall in love with Jesus that inside that man. So he brought me to his family, which was Christian family, and I love them all to death. And they accepted me, and I give my life to Christ in 2011. And then we have 3 beautiful kiddos. You know, we have daughter and twins. So and a dog and 2 cats at home. But you know what? 5 years ago, while I was working as a hairstylist, God led me to write my autobiography. And it's interesting because I thought it's gonna be for somebody else, you know, for them to see God, you know, through everything. But it's changed my life, because before that book, I thought there was my life before Christ and after Christ, you know, when I got baptized and give my life to him. But when I looked through all my life and I wrote that book, and I realized I was praying when I was 6 years old, so my father wouldn't beat me. Then I was praying when I was overdosed and saying, God, if you there, please save me. Then I pray at the Wailing Wall, like where Jesus was in the holy place. I was praying to God to save my grandfather. And by the way, miraculously, he lived another 10 years. So like I saw that God actually was with me through like all the pits of despair. So he never he's like from birth to now. So that was like really cool. And I said to my husband, like, I actually and I reconciled with my family and led my father to Christ and other people in my family because they saw this transformation. But what this book helped me to do, it's actually look into my past from this new perspective when I'm loved and belong and forgiven, mom and a wife, and actually looking back and have compassion on myself and on my mother as well, on my family. Now I understand how hard, like we talk about, without electricity, without food, actually raise children. And now as a mom, I understand that. So I definitely reconcile with that. And it's really cool. And now after building my empire, I heard God saying, this is not the job you should be doing. So, 3 years ago, I closed my salon and I published my book.
Yeah.
And now I'm speaking, I'm sharing my story. And I have a podcast called Love and Beloved, where I'm talking about God and human trafficking and overcoming adversity, because I want people to understand that there is a chance to have love and hope and wholeness again after everything like we've seen and done. So that's my message.
Wow. Hearing your story, I'm on a roller coaster of emotions because you're talking about you are, essentially wooed into the human trafficking world, and it sounded like it was freedom. And I got excited because I thought, oh, maybe somebody believed in you. And then just to have the rug pulled out from underneath you, what did that do for you when you thought, I can have a great life? Oh, now I'm actually a slave. And then to get to the point with having that slave mentality.
It was very interesting, but I think like because I was so broken to go into slavery, I think I've already been broken before I got to there.
Yeah.
But I do believe like by writing this book, I saw a moment in my life when I was outside of my city, sitting on a hill with with the sunflowers, and I was like screaming and upset and mad and crying. Those moments was a God moments because I realized I was putting my heart to God to actually, I have this crazy awareness, like, self-awareness. And I was like thinking that it cannot be all to life, like I see other people, for example, divorcing, and mothers still don't give up on the kids and still working and still have a good apartment and still providing the food. So I was always like searching, and like, I know that it's possible to have more, and I guess like I want to say that it was that why me a moment, like you were asking before, because I was seeing that it's possible actually to have a good life. And yes, and there's women who are, when I was young, like I was saying to my grandmother, I want to do martial art. I want to do, I want to drive car. I want to own the business. And they always put me down saying that you have crazy ideas, when I was young, because, somewhere in the movie, I saw this woman who is driving the car and it was like, wow, I want to be that. So like all those like little glimpses that you can be more. And then I heard God speaking to me. Now I know that it was Holy Spirit, but I heard like in those moments, even those moments when I sold myself again, I come out from it because like I heard this inside of me voice saying, you've been made for more. So like I knew there's something more. I had it like in me, but there's like was no other avenue to see what is more. But I just knew that it have to be something better. But I've been betrayed over and over and over again. And literally I have to like fight against this like stupid thoughts in my head, like and work over this trauma over and over. But then when I met Christ, he helped me, like, he gave me peace and lots of scriptures, and then the community who would supported me and pray for me. So I have this prayer army. I pray to God, and it's literally transforming the mind. Every time I have stupid thoughts, I just pray against them and think about something good, and I like staying where I am now rather than punishing me from doing the mistakes over and over. So over the years, it's like literally it's been 20 years. And I think I said to my husband this last fall, and I said to him, I feel like myself. I feel like the best version of myself now. I feel healthy. I feel really good and established as a mom, as a wife, as a housekeeper. I don't question anymore like that I don't deserve this. Yeah, I don't. It's all by the grace of God. My body is clean. My mind is clean. I have no any diseases, like my lungs are perfect. My heart is like, it's just mind blowing. You cannot get this. You know what I mean? Especially from the drugs that I use. I was like on crack, on heroin, like smoking weed, drinking booze, like coke, like anything, like ecstasy, whatever it is, like name it. So no way I just got cleaned up by myself. I quit the drugs by myself. I rehab myself, but the peace and understanding and drive and passion and compassion and change, it's all from God. So this to my faith glory, to him glory. So there is, so if you guys at the end of the rope and that's where you should go. You should give God a chance.
We hear your story, and we hear your story of faith, and we talk about your book. Before Holly asks you our skill testing question and the why me question, I wanted to ask you about Fight for Freedom. What is Fight for Freedom?
I actually partner up with this organization, I do believe in 2017. They came to our church and they were talking about human trafficking. And this is first time I actually heard that it's kind of like more public, because I didn't speak about it because nobody was talking about this in 2017. Now with this movie come out, everything like so much more, like the victims are more vocal. And I'm so grateful to you guys that you're doing this and sharing these stories, because it's going public. And when they came, it was like almost like taboo, but it was already 20 years like ago I've been trafficked. So the problem was there before even like I was born. But they came and they actually were going to the strip clubs. They were praying for victims of human trafficking, and they were asking like if anybody wanted to participate. I got a panic attack because I imagined myself going into strip club, and I literally have like whole blown panic attack, thinking like, whoa, that's too close. But then I pray about it, and I decide to be like on a prayer team. I decide to do fundraising. Like I decide still to do part that I can do, because like I cannot be quiet and do nothing about this issue, you know? And before I could speak, that's what I was doing. I was supporting them. And then, they fight against human trafficking, and they're in so many different cities, and they provide now in counseling for people and support groups and the life skills building. So they creating awareness. They go into the schools as well. So, and they in my city as well. So I was on the ground. Actually, last year I led the team for our biggest fundraisers. So we walk around our city and we stop in the corners where human trafficking occurs, and we pray about it and we document it. And it was on social media, and people partner up, and people were donating money, and all this money was going to support the victims, support the survivors, and fight against human trafficking. Same as with my book, profits, like some of the profits go support a fight for freedom as well. But now I have another organization that I'm part of as well, that it's Zonta. They creating better world for women and girls. So this I'm actively part of, and it's so exciting. But on my website, if anybody want to know more about any other organization that I'm supporting, especially like we talk about Tim Ballard and his operation Underground Railroad. I always get messed up. Oh, you are? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they are fantastic. And I actually interviewed gentlemen from the organization. There's so many like really like brave and amazing people who actually fights against human trafficking. And honestly, guys, like you can do anything to support. If God bless you with the funds, donate the funds. If God bless you with the time and health, donate that. You still can do something. You can create awareness. Go see the movie, talk about this movie. You know, doesn't really cost that much, but you still gonna create awareness. Maybe you're gonna say something to a friend who doesn't know about it, and they hear something and say, oh, you know what? I think I know somebody or somebody in my family actually like going through this stuff. Because I always say, like, if we know what we're looking for, the red flags and light bulbs or whatever it's called, intuition, always gonna, you cannot unsee it. You're gonna see it and you're gonna question, is that a human trafficking situation? So we need to educate ourselves. We don't have to be afraid. I know it's scary and it's overwhelming, but we don't have to be afraid. All we have to do, educate ourselves and know what we can do. Like if there's immediate danger, call 911 or call the hotlines, and there's all over media, so you can Google this stuff or check out my website. I have like whole page of resources. Like you can use it and it's all free. So download it, give it to someone, safety online, stuff like that, because over like this past 3 years when I done with my salon, that's what I've been doing. I've been collecting all this information with the organizations. So one day somebody could come and take everything and give it to someone. So I really like to be that link between the people and organizations, because like it's all in one place,
There's so many resources now compared to, like you said, a few years ago. But you had mentioned that you were sitting on a hill and you had a why me moment. Do you mind expanding a little bit on that situation and where you were at and just kind of where your heart was and how God spoke to you?
Absolutely. I think in those moments, I always was comparing myself to another families, because although I was young, I saw that somebody's mom calling them home to eat for dinner, or somebody's mom coming and have like huge scandal if you're not coming home, like in your curfew. And I'm thinking like, why I don't have a curfew? Why this is happening? And then of course, like when it started happening with abuse, sexual abuse, all the question about my worth and value, and that brokenness, like sometimes I just wanted to run away. And my family owned this little house in the village. And sometimes when I just get so haunted with my mind, body and soul, I just run away and I just sit there and I want to be alone. I want to be alone. And I was hiding, but I had like really nowhere to go. I still have to come back home. And that was the painful stuff. And I always was like now I know I was asking God, but that time looking at this beauty, like the sunflowers were open up, like I inhale with the forest, and there's opening and I can see like God's creation, but I feel so dark and so heavy and so painful, and I cry and I feel like in distress. And now it's so bizarre that like I actually could express all those feelings like when I was so young. And that's why I'm thinking like I have like this crazy self-awareness. And that was why me moment, because I knew that it could be better, but why my parents like that? Why this is happening? Why me? Like, why this stuff? So I don't know like how after those kind of moments, I didn't think like about suicide, to like see like what is this life even matter. But for some reason, I was actually like almost like it's all come out from me, like, so now I know that's what the prayer does, like you just pour everything to God and you have this peace. That's what was so bizarre, that I like to be alone and spit everything and scream and kick the grass around and cry and just like totally like break down, and then like I could sit and think, okay, it could be better. It could be better. And I always had hope. That's the craziest part. No matter like where I went, like I always had hope. And now even like we before a little bit talk about the fact that I wish it didn't happen. I don't. I literally in this moment of my life, I look back and I have so much gratitude that I didn't die. I have gratitude that God got me through everything, but allowed me to go through everything, because I am who I am because of that. My character, like I build the character perseverance, but it's not only about me. It's about all the people who come into my life, my children, my girls, my son, the stuff that I'm imprinting on them, that I know they're gonna be people, like not like people who change the world, but the point is they gonna be different people because of my experience. And it's not easy for them to, not easy for all of us, like, because the trauma have to be dealt with and all this stuff. But the fact is, honestly, even like the people who come into me and say like, well, God never gonna forgive me because I did drugs. I'm like, okay, so do I. And especially like when I volunteer, I love this. I truly love this when people say, oh, I was doing the drugs. I'm like, well, I was prostitute. And they're like, you? And I'm like, yeah, and I was on heroin and I was like doing crack. And they're like, you? Because they know that I have children, I have business, and I look this way. It took 20 years to look this way. But the fact that, and the way I carry myself, they think like I've been born in Christian family and everything been glorious. But that's how the healing look like. And then I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, tell me like your worst sin. Come on. And see, because I bet I was worse than you ever have been. Maybe all of you here in the room, and God forgive me. So tell me why you think God cannot forgive you. And that's what, like, I wrote the book, and that's why I'm speaking about it, because sometimes we get stuck in these stupid lies, teeny tiny, oh, I'm smoking weed, God looking down on me. Or like I'm swearing, so God looking down. Listen. You need to repent, you need to talk about it, and you to get through it. And when God got me, I was smoking, I was drinking, I was like on drugs, like I was in a brothel praying to him. And guess what? He heard my prayer and he answered my prayer because he knew my heart, and my heart was like praying for him to help. And I believe that he will do it. And I believe that he will save my grandfather. I didn't believe he gonna do it for me because I knew I don't deserve anything. But it took me a long time. And now I'm telling you, it's all lie because we don't deserve. But God loves us so much. He will do it. No matter if you know him or don't know. That's why I say, give the chance to God and he will like show up and show off because he wants everybody to get healed and come out from these lies and change their own lives. Yeah.
Love it. Lena, I wish we had hours upon hours to talk. Miraculous available now. You can get that. Lena Cebula.ca at Lena Cebula on the socials. We appreciate you so much for at least taking a couple minutes and sharing just a portion of your incredible story. Thank you for taking some time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, guys. It was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I wish we could have had more time.
Yeah.
Still so many other questions, but I think they're all really, they pale into comparison to the fact that she has had an incredible life full of hardship, and yet like how God is using her and her experiences and those that he's put in her life to help others and to serve him. It's incredible.
I'll say this. If you have more questions like we would, listen to her podcast, read her book, and I'm sure that if you don't have those answers, call her and she will tell you exactly what it is that maybe you don't have the answer to.
Yeah, exactly. But I so appreciate her openness and her vulnerability. It is definitely a conversation that a lot of people are having more and more and more frequently as the stats about human trafficking are released and as we learn more about what is happening, not just internationally, but on Canadian soil.
Yeah. And it seems like every 3 or 4 months, you and I have a conversation with somebody talking about a different form of, or in a different place. It's not all the same. And so it's just a good reminder, get out and watch movies like Sound of Freedom, support people like Lena, and support us as well in a different way, because if listening to our podcast or telling people about it, then the word will continue to get out.
Yeah, and if you felt like you learned something and you have a different appreciation for how you can support those who may be or may have been trafficked, please share this episode with others, like it, review, and may this be a tool for you also to help other people get more information about what we can do to help.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also send us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. YouTube.
YouTube.
We're YouTubing. We're the YouTubers.
We're trying.
We're definitely very hard, but love to hear from you as well on other guests that maybe we need to be talking to. You can check out places like Edify and as well faithstrongtoday.com.